Okay. Anyway. Who's that? Oh, I got some lotion on this thing. Hold on. All right. Yeah, we got Wi-Fi back. Yeah, the blackout lasted for, I don't know, a couple of days. Maybe a little less because it did come on in the evening. Anyway, about a couple of days, whatever. All right, just back from a toilet paper run. Thought it was a good time for an update. Okay. So, all right, the language thing, yeah. The bank. Oh, the bank. Oh boy, yeah. A few weeks ago, I went online, checked my account thing, and I see some expenses. I don't know what that, just expenses just charges I wasn't expecting. Now I thought I had gone through and did a pretty good job in eliminating any subscriptions I might have had and all that to remove all my expenses as much as possible anyway. Yeah, apparently I missed one, and like a automatic renewal thing, subscription thing. Not only did my credit union let the payment go through, it charged me an overdraft thing, 30-something bucks. So I had the, I don't know, what was it, $55 thing. And then on top of that, $35 or whatever, $35 for an overdraft charge. So, when you don't have an income, it's enough to be upsetting. So, yeah. So, I called them and I said, what the heck is this? You know? And why did you let the payment go through if I didn't have the darn? So if they're going to start doing all this, yeah, I've been back and forth with this credit. Yeah, I thought the banks were a pain in the. Yeah, I've been so back and forth with this thing that was it. That was it. Fine, they removed the $34 charge or whatever it was. And they didn't want to cancel the card. Said, no, talk about it with the oh, really? No, so they want me to get into it. So, oh, and I find out that all that, the fraud alert thing, that was just a scam. That had nothing to do with them. So all that time that I was doing the international thing and I was getting these phone calls, fraud alert and all this thing, and so they let this thing go on and they let this thing go on. It's now just a few days ago that they started putting a notice on their website that this is actually happening. At this point, I've had so much of their. Right, so I canceled the card. And yeah, it's just the first of the month. I used a prepaid card. You can find them at Walgreens or CVS or whatever thing is next to you. And yeah, and then I went to that was for the public storage thing. Bill to go online and do that. And Then I used that also to get a, for my Simple Mobile phone plan, $25 phone plan. No. Went to Target, their electronic department. They sell phone, prepaid phone stuff. One got the 25. There's one that's $25, 3 gigabytes, and one that's $25, 1 gigabyte. The cashier couldn't tell me why it was the same price, and one only had 1 gigabyte and one had so fine. So I went with a $25 3 gigabyte thing, prepaid card, Target kind of thing, which was good because the only reason I went to do that was because I didn't think I was going to have enough on the prepaid card. Since I got a $100 thing, used some of it for the public storage, was going to use the rest of it for the phone, but I thought I was going to be a couple of bucks over, so I didn't think it would cover it. Turns out when you buy the card, brick and mortar place, when you buy the card itself, you don't go online, they don't charge you the tax. I don't know if they're supposed to or what the deal is with that, but I only paid $25 for that. Whereas when you go online, they throw $2 or $3 extra on there. So I didn't think of it, so I just managed, and I still have $2 on the prepaid card. So yeah. That was last month. This, in a few days, actually a couple of weeks. I already went ahead and did the pay my bill thing that some banks have. So I'll empty out that account by just to pay my bill using the pay my bill thing. And I'll go to the brick and mortar thing to buy the card, and that's going to be the cheapest way, because when you buy the prepaid card, like for $100, you got to pay an extra $6. So I saved a couple of bucks on the taxes for the mobile, Simple Mobile thing, but it really wasn't a, because I ended up paying $6 more for the card prepaid, so it's the cheapest way. Pay my bill, whatever's left in the bank account, use that, and then just go to Target and get the Simple Mobile for $25. So that's going to be the cheapest way to do that. And if there are any other subscriptions or whatever on my debit card, it's gone. So I canceled that, and I'm done with that. And done with my credit union. All right. I said banks were a pain. Just like when I was in Puerto Rico looking for whatever bank was close, that's the same. Only use a bank that you have physical access to. So you can go in there in person and get your money. Otherwise, crazy. It's ridiculous. It's not worth the aggravation. Alright, so that's the bank thing. I was doing a little research with all this nuclear talk. Let's see what my options were. My quick, yeah, I said that I didn't want to be thinking of having to escape the blue zone. Well, guess what? I can't stop thinking about it. Anyway, it's nice to know that the bank account I did manage to open, I now have access to different systems now with the, other places I'm looking at. So that place is really close. But hey, it's family now. I wonder what happens if I try to get a citizenship there. So anyway, yeah, I'm not going to ask either if I end up there. Okay, so why would I end up there? Volunteering. Yeah, I'm going to give you an overview kind of thing. Because I had gotten, I'm going to get my notes. I had put volunteer thing in here because if you're rich, fine. Listen to Andrew, all right? Henderson, Nomad Capitalist, right? Fine, he's got all the answers for those that are filthy rich. So, otherwise, travel as best you can, find out where you want to be, and learn the language. That's for the rest of us. That's the reality we're dealing with. Yeah. As far as actually getting into teaching, at some point you're going to have to probably volunteer on some level. Now, before you say scab, this is the reality we're dealing with. Okay? So, really, if you're young, that's probably going to be your best thing to volunteer because you don't know where you're going to end up. Me, along the tooth, I've more or less figured out my places that I'm going to focus in, learn the language, because oh, that's the library information. Because I don't think, what do I have here? Yeah, way too much information. So is that. Okay. Upon reflection, just going through a regular day. I'm not going to get into details. Maybe someday I'll be able to talk about those details. That someday is certainly not here and now. Upon reflection, I realized I'm not going to be able to do any kind of volunteer thing. The way things work out. So that's probably going to have to happen abroad somewhere. Right? So it's nice because it does give you the added focus. You can focus in on what you can, what is workable. Right? So I'll focus in on the language as best I can. If you're young, I suggest you try to focus in on getting some kind of volunteer stuff going. If not teaching, specifically teaching English as a foreign language, then at least have experience working with children. Because those are the two areas that's probably going to be the easiest to get into if you decide to go abroad, to be an expat. Okay? So those two things. If you really don't know, if you haven't traveled enough to know where you're going to end up, where you want to relocate to, if you're young, this is probably going to be the best time to do some volunteer thing. If not, again, if not teaching English as a second language, then at least gain experience working with children, because those, they're going to ask about that. Now, if you can gain experience working with children and you basically know where you're going to end up, oh, that's so difficult. Too much BS. If you haven't traveled there, you can't assume you know where you want to relocate to. I wish I can say different, but I really can't. So it's better to have a bachelor's degree. If that's not an option, at least gain some experience working with children. And then above and beyond that, try to gain experience in teaching English as a second language. And it'd be great if you knew where you were wanting to relocate it, but you really don't. I'm sorry. Not until you go there and find out for whatever reason if that's actually doable. At this point in time, you can only assume that your first choice is not going to be the place you're going to end up selecting. That's how bad the information that's being thrown out there is. Okay? Sorry, I'm not trying to be discouraging, but that's... Sorry. Okay. I don't know what else to tell you. If you're long in the tooth and you basically know where you want to relocate to, great. Good for you. Create some foundation as far as the language is concerned. And, yeah. Odds are volunteering is not going to be an option for you. So, save up your money and know that your first couple of jobs, or at least your first job for sure, is probably going to be some kind of volunteer program. Because that's the way it's going down. That's just the way it works. Now, if you got plenty of money and all that kind of, all these different options, then you ought to be watching Nomad Capitalist and follow their advice. Otherwise, yeah. Okay. What else? The language. Getting back into it after having to correct all your language material. Yeah. Remember when you were a kid and your parents let you do your homework while you were watching commercials through the commercials kind of thing? Yeah, you may want to, after taking a couple of days break, you may want to get back into it by kind of doing that kind of sort of thing. Commercials may actually end up being just replaying news broadcasts. At least that's what it is for me. That's the way it's working out for me. If you see it's just redoing the news thing, you've already seen it. You know, you put the mute thing and then you work through your lists. The thing of it is, just get back into using your language material. Alright? After giving it a couple of days or a few days break, get back into it. The important thing is just being accustomed to using your language material. Okay? Because when the time comes when you really got to sink your teeth into it and really commit it to memory again, at least you haven't let it collect dust. Just get back into the thing of using it. That's the important thing. And, since you've made all these corrections and personalized it and all that kind of stuff, you probably don't want to take it out and about and risk losing it or something. So, take snapshots of it and just download it onto your phone, or it's going to be on your phone. So you can keep your booklet at home, your language material at home. Take snapshots of your list, vocabulary lists, and safeguard it like that. And back it up in one of your email accounts or a couple of email accounts. So whatever happens, you've got your backups already. And if you're running out of data and you're standing in line and you don't and you're trying to get Yandex Translate and it's taking forever to download, you don't even have to worry about it. You've got your own language material on your phone already downloaded and you're right there. You can use it on your commute to work, standing in line, whatever. You got to find out what's actually workable in your situation and focus in on that, because it's a mess. It's the way it's going down. Oh, yeah, one thing. I've mentioned the memory thing in passing because I don't want to get too carried away with studying techniques. If you're in college, you know, or even high school, and you want to really get into the memory technique things and all the different kind of applications, go ahead. Because that's all you're doing anyway, right? So there are various applications to this, and this is your entire life. So if you want, you'll have plenty of opportunities to try out your favorite tips and techniques and all that kind of stuff and see what really works for you. Otherwise, don't get lost in the weeds. This is, don't get carried away with any kind of techniques, because you're just adding to the whatever you're already doing. Okay? There are plenty of obstacles out there already. You do not have to add extra steps to whatever it is you're trying to learn. Okay? Don't do it. It's not worth it. I mean, it's just, the memory thing is very kind of straightforward, you know. You look at a word, a foreign word, and sometimes a word actually sounds like another word in your own language. Those are great, wonderful, right? I'm not talking about cognates. You know, cognates are like foreign words that sound just the same, like the same word in your own language, right? It sounds like it and it has the same meaning. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a foreign word that actually sounds like another word that you can use to remember the foreign word. Okay? I mean, the best example I can think of is, I don't know if anybody remembers an old sitcom called The Facts of Life. And Trudy, what's her name, Trudy? They want to the character name. Well, Trudy was talking to one of the girls, trying to get her to use the memory technique, trying to get her to remember the abbreviation or the initials, the table of elements for gold. AU. Just think, just visualize someone stealing your gold watch and running off and you yelling AU. Okay, now that's the best example. That's very straightforward, very easy to understand. So AU, gold. So you make that connection, right? That's what the memory thing is, right? You're visualizing something. One thing sounds like another. You can use it to kind of make a little skit, right? Little storyline. So you're just remembering these visuals you're giving yourself to help you remember this thing. And that's all it is. That is all it is. Don't make it in. Some associations are good. Some of them are terrible. The real good ones are the ones that really sound like a word in your own language. Those are great. But that's usually not the way it works out. A really bad one would be like something that the whole thing doesn't sound like it, so now you have to break it up into parts. Maybe the individual syllables or a combination of the syllables. It kind of sort of sounds like this, not really, but I can more or less kind of push it. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of this. So you take that and you connect it to something else that kind of reminds you of something else, or whatever. You see, these are very wishy-washy associations, but you can make them stronger just by, repeating it. The association, whatever. Even if it doesn't, if someone else tries to use it, it wouldn't sound like anything to them. Maybe you had a cousin who lost a tooth on the side of his, the upper side. And every time he tried to say a word, it came out with a little whistle that made it sound like this. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be a good association. It doesn't have to be an association that works for everybody. It just has to be good enough for you to be able to use it. That's it. Okay? So some associations are better than others. Some are obvious because it really does sound like a word in your own language. But most of the time you're going to. So this is when your mind tries to like grasp at straws, because after repeating it, hopefully repetition will be enough to make the thing stick. But if you just, sometimes the mind starts grasping at straws and starts to break it up, and that kind of sounds like, grab it. All right? Use that. And yeah, just reinforce it every time you review the words, and just reinforce the visual in your mind. Supposedly, the more outlandish, the easier it is for you to remember. I've never found that to be true. I don't find that to be true. I find in my own mind it has to make a little bit of sense. So, whatever. But whatever. Sometimes they say the more outlandish it is, the easier it is to remember it. Not for me. But maybe for you. Okay? I don't know. So it doesn't matter if it's ridiculous or not ridiculous. It just has to work for you. Alright? You just work on the visual and whatever. Again, hopefully repetition will be enough. But if it isn't, and your mind starts grasping at straws, embrace it. Because that's all the memory association tricks are. That's it. It's just your mind trying to connect it to something it already knows. Go with it. Absolutely go with it. And that's it. Don't get carried away in the system, because it's just going to be a waste of time if you get too carried away with it. Yeah, you can apply it to a lot of things. You can expand on it. You can add to it. But at this point, once you start building it like that, it's going to be like learning another language. You know, if you're still going in school, fine, go with it, because you will find other applications. If not, don't, because that's all it is. It's just associations. You make visual images and you just repeat them and enforce them until, but otherwise, see, that's why I don't like really getting into it too much, because it's too easy to get carried away with it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. It doesn't have to be a good association. It just has to work for you. That's it. That's it. All right. And leave it alone. Over 28 minutes. I always get carried away. All right. Yeah, I wanted to get that out, but not really, because it's too easy to get carried away with it. And it's more of a waste of time. It's not worth all that. All right. The important thing is that you just stay used to using your language material. All right. Don't let it collect dust. Especially since that's one of the few things that you can actually manage on your own, and you can focus on it, because there's just too much other nonsense going on. So, yeah, and that's one good thing you can do on your own, and you can work on it and all that kind of stuff. So. All right, over 29 minutes. Okay, it's June 17th, 2023, 10:36 a.m. Saturday morning, somewhere in Brooklyn. As always, try to stay safe. Try to stay healthy, and I will talk to you later. Take care.